Revenge films.
My name is Ellie. My husband passed away because of a disease despite his young age a year ago, and now I live with his parents and my 5-year-old daughter. Although he had passed away, my parents-in-law still thought of us as their family and offered that I continue living with them. Those words really meant a lot to me, who was full of sadness and worry from losing my husband, leaving my young daughter and I. With his parents' help, I was desperate to take care of my daughter while I worked part-time. It was impossible for me to fill his spot, who was hard-working and cared so much about our daughter. I sometimes thought I'd just give up, but every time my mother-in-law cheered me up. "Don't try to do everything on your own. You have us." When I was slowly recovering from my loss, my sister-in-law, who had rarely visited us, suddenly came home and said that she's moving back in with us. After she moved in with her husband and 2-year-old son, our lives drastically changed. She was very selfish and lazy, and she disappeared without paying back her parents the money she'd borrowed when she got married. She hadn't come back since then. But she didn't even come to her brother's funeral, so I thought she basically cut relations with her family. But I thought something was off because she suddenly came back home. And I guessed right. A few days after she moved back in with us, she suddenly visited my room. "Hey, where's my share of inheritance?" she suddenly asked me. I was confused. "What do you mean?" When I asked her, "I'm talking about my brother's inheritance. Don't tell me you're keeping everything to yourself," she fiercely said. I couldn't help but say, "What are you talking about? We already went through the process according to what he stated in his will, so there's nothing left for you," I said in a loud voice. Then she continued, "Huh? Both my husband and I quit my job thinking we'd inherit something. What are we supposed to do now, telling us that so late?" She repetitively kept asking me for the inheritance. I had no idea what to do, so I asked my parents-in-law for advice. Then my parents-in-law looked shocked. "I'm embarrassed of my own daughter." They looked down. They told her to leave their house as soon as possible. "Why do I have to leave? This is actually my parents' house." She doesn't seem to be leaving at all. She even started to bully me every day after she found out that I told her parents about what happened. One day when I was taking in the laundry, I realized that only my clothes were gone. When I asked my mother-in-law, she said she didn't know, so I was looking for it thinking something was wrong. And then I found a few trash bags outside. I didn't want to assume things, but when I opened them just in case, I found my clothes that I hung out to dry. When I was frozen to the spot out of shock, my sister-in-law said from behind, "Oops, you found it, huh?" When I asked her what was going on, "I bet you bought all that using what you inherited from my brother. I was irritated because you're keeping it all to yourself, so I thought I'd just dump it." Then she glared at me. I couldn't forgive her for what she said. "Don't you ever do this again," I said to her, but she ignored me and left. A few days later, I found tons of chilies inside my dinner, which my mother-in-law prepared for me. When I glanced at my sister-in-law, feeling tired of everything, she was smirking at me. "Can you stop being immature and teasing me?" When I said that, my mother-in-law, who realized there was something wrong with my serving, gave me hers. "Don't you feel embarrassed of yourself doing something so childish?" When she said that, my sister-in-law suddenly stood up and screamed. "My brother's no longer here, but why is a stranger living in our house? Leave the money you inherited and get out of this house with your kid." When she yelled at me, my father-in-law just came home from work. Then,
"You're the one leaving this house!"
As soon as he screamed, he placed his hand on his chest and fainted. My mother-in-law and I quickly approached him, and realizing that it was serious, we called an ambulance. After he was taken to the hospital, he had to undergo an emergency surgery, so we decided to wait at the hospital. But the nurse told us it's going to take a while, so my mother-in-law told me to leave first with my daughter, so I went home, leaving her at the hospital. When I got home, I didn't see my sister-in-law and her family anywhere. It was past midnight, so I got suspicious and called her, but she didn't answer. Although she might have a problematic personality, there's no way she would go hang out when her father is in danger. So I thought she might be at the hospital and called her mother, but she told me they weren't there. The next day I went back to the hospital very early with my daughter. His surgery was just finished, and they told me that he barely made it through. I was relieved, and my mother-in-law told me she wanted to go home to get some stuff, so I agreed to stay with her husband. A few moments later, my mother-in-law, who was supposed to be at home, gave me a call. She seemed panicked. "I couldn't find my money that was in the drawer," she said. According to what she said, her husband hid $5,000 inside a drawer to use in an emergency. But it was all gone. As soon as I heard that, I knew it was my sister-in-law who did it. After calling my sister-in-law again and again, she finally answered and she suddenly said, "I'm not going back anymore." Then she continued, "When are you having Dad's funeral? Make sure to transfer me my share of the inheritance after his funeral." She said something unbelievable. I was trembling with rage. "His surgery was a success. It's up to you if you want to leave, but give us back the money you stole." When I said that, she replied, "Huh? He's alive?" She boldly mouthed a phrase so rude. "If I'm not inheriting anything, I guess I have to go back. But we decided to go on a family trip using that money, so tell Mom I won't be going home for a while." Then she hung up. When I told my mother-in-law about that, she got serious and said, "Okay, I have an idea." She reassured me. The next day, she told her husband, who had recovered to the point where he could speak about what their daughter did.
"Let's put the plan into action. Quick!"
He said. When we got home, my mother-in-law started packing her stuff in a hurry. I was confused, but I helped her nonetheless. "We're selling this house," she simply said. It looks like they were planning to give the house to their daughter and move out, but they'd had enough of her rude behavior. And they had made the decision to sell the house. It turns out that they had renovated their parents' house for me and my husband in secret, and we were moving into that house. Because the house was ready to move into, we quickly moved into our new home. A week later, my sister-in-law, who came back from the trip, gave me a call. "Hey, the house is on sale and I can't go in. What's going on?" She was in a panic, so I said to her, "We already moved out. There's no place you can go home to now." I told her about the harsh reality. Then she said, "Where are you now? Tell me!" She was making a fuss. "I'm going to block your contact now. Goodbye." I hung up like that. Both me and my parents-in-law blocked our contacts and cut relations with her. Looks like she was always selfish since she was little and barely even visited her grandparents. That's why she doesn't know where their house is, so we don't have to worry about her visiting us without notice. After that, she had lost her home. Not only that she used up all the money during her trip, she used her credit card a lot, believing she would inherit her father's money, so she ended up being in debt. Her husband ran away, and now she had to live alone with her kid, but she had no one she could depend on. So she had to live an impoverished life in a cheap apartment chased by the moneylenders. She could no longer bear the loneliness, and I heard she's still looking for our house. Even if she manages to find us, we'll definitely shoo her away. In contrast, we now live a peaceful life in a house that's more spacious than before. My father-in-law recovered and got out of the hospital, so we would have a barbecue in our garden on sunny days and spend time as a family. I hope we'll be able to live together as a close family of 4 forever.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.